Great behaviors that result in immediate low status. If you avoid the 3 actions listed below, you will immediately set yourself apart from the other 95% of men on the market. When women realize this on their own, it makes them feel wetter around you. Show off your skills. You should come visit my incredible home. I'm getting a 6-figure raise every year. I've got a huge penis. The irony of bravado is that it conveys that you're a desperate man seeking praise. So why do you have to talk about yourself in this manner? Allow the woman to find your positive characteristics for herself rather than putting them into words. This demonstrates his self-assurance while also making him strange in her eyes. For her, be a never-ending source of exciting discoveries. Drop or take a step down, because they are afraid of offending others and want to be viewed as nice. Low-status males tend to be modest, unless it's a clear jest. Alpha males avoid feigning modesty. Women admire males who have a high sense of self-worth. If you think well of yourself, the woman will think well of you. It could be acceptable to make a clear jest about lowering yourself, such as the following. Say it with a cheerful tone of voice. I'm not sure I can move that heavy stuff because I'm so weak. A bodybuilder physique said, because my penis is so little, I wear a leather jacket to compensate. It's only about a ½ inch long. Said by a self-assured man who clearly has no sexual anxieties. That's why he can make a joke about his penis size. I'm unemployed and living in the basement of my folks. This was spoken by a well-dressed man with a lot of money. Other people should be lowered. Haha, look at that scumbag and his rags. It displays its own inadequacies when you put people down. Why does the bum on the sidewalk act as if he is a threat to you? You'll just make her stand up for those you disparage, since women are sensitive animals with compassion for the less fortunate. Similarly, don't make fun of the males who are your sexual rivals, as this displays your insecurity. Instead, simply ignore them since they are unworthy of your attention. The most powerful attitude you can possess. If you're like most guys, you assume women are a reward for working hard and living a good life. It's a long-standing tradition. The lovely girl was the prize for the brave knight at the end of his long and grueling quest in the Middle Ages. I had the same thought, and that caused me to assume that in order to get women to like me, I'd have to have the best automobile, the highest paying job, and spend a lot of money on them. That was something that all of my pals thought as well. The bad news is that neither of us had much luck with the ladies in the past. Geez, I thought, women will appreciate me if I keep working hard and am a decent guy who knows what type of flowers to buy. After all, if you ask a woman for advice, she will tell you to do just that. Later on, I found that women are awful advisors. They show you how to turn into romance material alone. If you follow their advice, you'll be a well-controlled beta who needs to wait months for sex, rather than an arousing alpha with whom women have sex straight away. I was in love with my roommate when I was a sophomore in college. I did all I believed I needed to do in order to like him. He left the toilet seat on the ground floor. I had purchased their CDs. In our apartment, I fixed things for her. When she messed everything up, he even cleaned it up. She described it as adorable. We never had sex, though. She was never attracted to me in any way. I was far too good, and by good, we mean beta. Later on, I made friends with a guy who seemed to be the polar opposite of what I imagined a man should be like. He wasn't spending money on women, he wasn't looking forward to shopping with them, and he wasn't attempting to impress them with his car or his job goals. But this man was constantly surrounded by ladies who liked him, flirted with him, and had sex with him. He did. And I eventually recognized that he possessed alpha male characteristics that drew women to him on a primal level. Everything about him, even his demeanor, expressed her honest sense that they were a wonderful match. All of his achievements sprang from this powerful mentality. He would only have sex with women who had earned that honor. I would only feel affection towards ladies who had earned that privilege. He would only be interested in women if they said anything fascinating and not just babble. You'll be more attractive if you've totally accepted the idea that you're a good match and not her. The tendency to place a higher value on what is not readily available is a fundamental aspect of human nature. It's the fundamental principle of supply and demand. Anything in short supply requires a higher demand price than usual. The scarcity concept can be found in everything from rare baseball cards to stamps. Traders often take advantage of it and exploit it. You, as an alpha, may benefit from this as well. And you can boost your value by using the following 3 secrets. Being unavailable for a woman gives you an advantage, and it pays off for everything you have to put in. How much patience do you think you'll have for women who put him in the relationship category and make him wait months for sex if you take this attitude? Not a lot. Don't be so hasty in returning phone calls. You're a busy man as an alpha, and ladies need to get your attention. And when you're on the phone, you'll be the first to put the phone down, not because some dating book advised you to, but because you're a busy man. If you have other activities on your schedule, you may not be available for appointments. By the way, in order to be appealing, you should be doing something other than chasing skirts. Allow me to repeat myself because it is critical. By not always being available, you will increase your value. You'll have specific tolerance rules for her behaviors if you adopt the idea that you're a high-value man deciding for yourself whether a lady is worth your time. You turn away from her when she doesn't meet your expectations. As an alpha, you can live your life without worrying about others' approval. Unfortunately, most individuals don't live the life they want because they are terrified of being judged. As a result, you gravitate toward the things you desire and away from the things you don't. You are a valuable individual who deserves to be treated as such by others. You can make your own reality. Your perception of the world is what it is. On the internet, you can find a wide range of opinions and ideas, many of which are backed up by people's own experiences. Many religious websites, for example, discuss God as if it is self-evident that he exists, which atheists argue is illogical. If you read carefully, you'll discover compelling arguments for both sides. How is it possible that both sides are correct? It's because everyone has their own interpretation of reality. What if one of your legs is broken? Is that a terrible thing? Of course it's horrible. Dang it, you're presumably thinking. However, imagine you were a British soldier in 1914. And your injured leg saved you from becoming cannon fodder on the Western Front. Then you'd be grateful to God for his shattered leg and crutches. Here's how it works. Reality is what you make it out to be. There is no such thing as objective reality. Everything can be interpreted in a variety of ways. What would you do if it rained? Whether you wish to go on a picnic or help a farmer who is suffering from a drought, you will have an entirely different perspective. As a result, you have the ability to see the world in any manner you wish. You can create your own world, your own set of circumstances. The views of others' worlds overwhelm a person with a weak reality. A person with a strong sense of reality is unaffected by other people's perspectives, instead drawing them into his universe. Let's imagine you're going to a nightclub and can't find a parking spot. This will disrupt a beta that permits external variables to control it. However, you might devise a strategy to avoid being disturbed. Because there isn't enough parking, there will be a lot of people in the clubs, which implies there will be a lot of ladies. Have you ever been stuck in a traffic jam? That's not that bad because it gives you a chance to rest, contemplate, and perhaps listen to some music. You don't have to get upset like the rest of the gang. You have the ability to see things in a good light. Let's take a look at the framing you use while talking about yourself. You want to be in a position where you can win an award that women want. The Art of Confidence and Trust Chapter 3. How to make women feel at ease. Being self-assured in your behaviors and looks is referred to as confidence. Many men's confidence can be shaken when they're with a lady they find appealing. You may consider yourself to be self-assured, but when presented with a stunning and imposing woman, your self-assurance vanishes. Men must strike a balance when it comes to appearing confident in front of women. Having a lot of confidence can come across as arrogant, which can turn women off. Take a look at the steps below for advice on how to appear confident. Groom your face and body and dress properly. Wear clothing that is both comfy and fashionable. From your tie to your shoes, choose a method and stick to it. Adding a personal touch to your ensemble can give it more attitude. This could be an unusual tie, a one-of-a-kind watch, or an intriguing strap. Presenting your personality demonstrates your self-assurance. Shave your beard, mustache, goatee, and other facial hair to make yourself look presentable. A clean, hair-free face might make you feel more rejuvenated and confident than you did when you first got out of bed. Wash your hair and trim your nails, as well as the hair in your ears and nose. Comb your hair if you normally do so. When trying to impress a woman, avoid trying out fresh and extreme hairstyles. You may lose confidence as a result of the uncertainty of a new style. Slow down your speech and don't pause. Reduce the speed of your speech by at least 50%. When you're nervous, your voice rises an eighth of a tone and you start speaking faster. When you speak, try to have a cool demeanor. You will automatically slow down if you think about each word before pronouncing it. This can also help you avoid making a mistake and regretting it when speaking. Maintain the conversation's focus. In a conversation, say as much as is necessary. When you respond to a question, don't keep talking to fill the pause. Laugh a lot. In the mirror, practice a real smile. A sincere grin isn't corny at all. It also feels good when you're doing it, and it doesn't come across as obnoxious to others. A sincere smile, on the other hand, exudes confidence and is much better. Keep your gaze fixed on you. During the time you are talking to or talking to you, stare at the woman you are talking to or listening to. Men who aren't confident have a tendency to squint or turn aside. When a woman speaks directly to a man who lacks confidence, the male finds it difficult to respond with a sharp gaze that suggests he is nervous. Make an effort not to overthink your actions. Understand the meaning of your words, but don't dissect every discussion you have in your head while you're having it. Don't overthink a decision. Serving a drink or putting a glass in your mouth are examples of this. You accentuate these really simple activities by overthinking them. Similarly, the increased stress you apply to the circumstance may drive you to make a mistake that would not have occurred if you hadn't. Remember to take deep breaths. Speak at a normal pace and take periodic deep breaths. When people are tense, they often forget to breathe, and when they do, they speak without thinking. Take a look at how you're standing. Keep your head high. Raise your head and rotate your shoulders back. Maintain great posture if there's one thing you should do when trying to appear confident. Slouchers appear sloppy, and bashful. When your posture is erect, you will immediately feel more safe. 10 points to keep in mind when working on a project. A person who is self-assured attracts more opportunities than someone who is not. Those who are confident in themselves are aware of their strengths and demonstrate them, whereas those who are not will be preoccupied with so many worries that they will be unable to demonstrate their qualities. Being a self-assured person can open a lot of doors for us, from acquiring a job to embarking on a project without fear of failure, even at the most trying times. Safety will help us get back on our feet and complete successful projects. When things don't seem to be going well, I've found that thinking positively about our skills helps us understand that if something fails, it's not due to a lack of ability, but because that's what life is all about: attempting, failing, getting back up, and gaining. At some point, every entrepreneur will fail. The ability to not be afraid of failing is a trait shared by confident people. What does it take to be self-assured? Despite the fact that it is not an easy process for many, we can develop confidence by following basic measures. According to French psychologist Émile Cal, if we constantly state "I am a confident person," we would eventually comprehend and act as such. Since the mind is capable of producing a preconditioned order when needed, we will communicate that sensation to others, believing it if we are certain. However, believing that we are protected is not enough. We must also use our image to communicate that assurance to others. People who know how to portray a positive image get employed more quickly than those who do not, according to several studies, and they also tend to earn higher pay. Here are some tips for conveying confidence through your posture and appearance. Voice tonality. In the corporate sector, having a confident tone of voice is essential. While it's necessary to be heard, speaking too loudly can come out as arrogant. Conversely, speaking quietly can make you appear untrustworthy. Diction. When conversing with others, it is preferable to speak slowly. Not pronouncing things correctly can be a sign of insecurity because it creates the idea that we don't believe in what we're saying, and the listener will pick up on this, causing the message to be lost. Gestures. Gestures are an important aspect of body language because they can lead to a lot of misunderstandings. When we don't comprehend something, we can show it with gestures. Opening our eyes a lot indicates that we don't understand. Sealing our lips with force sends tension. And retaining control of ourselves is a hint that we don't understand. Smile. This is without a doubt one of the most important aspects of nonverbal communication. Smiling naturally conveys tranquility, self-assurance, and the capacity to interact with others. Keep in mind that if you grin all the time, you run the risk of transmitting a lie. Greeting. It is necessary to welcome everyone present when you enter at a location, whether you know them or not. Come over, say hello, and extend your hand to them. Posture. Sitting up straight exudes self-assurance. Looking down to the ground or bending your shoulders, on the other hand, makes you appear as if you don't believe in yourself. Walking. Maintain a steady pace. A fast walking person may appear desperate, afraid, or anxious. A self-assured individual walks straight and at a good pace. Sitting posture. Sit up straight and don't move for more than 2 seconds at a time. Insecurity and anxiousness are communicated by frequently moving your feet, hands, or changing positions. Clothes. Make sure you're dressed in clean, well-matched, and acceptable attire for the occasion. Avoid using showy accessories because you don't want your interlocutors to be distracted by them. Look. Always look someone in the eye when speaking to them, and do the same when someone speaks to you. Avoid staring at the ground or becoming disoriented in space. Always keep in mind that what you are and what you transmit should be in sync. The image must correspond to the abilities that are possessed, necessitating the need to understand how to demonstrate that to others through proper image handling, acting, and how to demonstrate self-assuredness or security. How to be a person who exudes confidence and security. If you can project confidence and certainty in your role, the other characters with whom you interact, as well as spectators, will be more inclined to trust and believe in you. However, how do you expect others to believe what you display is accurate if the character appears uncertain or lacks confidence? Signs that indicate confidence versus signs that indicate insecurity. When quiet people are worried, they get tense, and it shows. Due to the tension in their muscles, their bodies are always in motion, creating quick, jerky, and erratic motions. Attitude of standing. When an anxious individual stands, they frequently have happy feet, which means their little feet are dancing and taking small steps all over the place. A self-assured person is at ease standing still without moving his feet. With your feet roughly the width of your hips apart, equally distribute your weight. When the weight is balanced on one leg, it suggests that the person is willing to move. It implies the intention to stay and not be afraid of a threat or attack when they are more or less central, balanced, and firmly planted on the ground. Notice how the confident character maintains a distance between his feet equal to the width of his hips, with a balanced weight distribution between his two legs, as seen in the entry image. The character, on the other hand, is worried. Her legs are wide apart and dancing. Her weight is centered on her right leg, and she stands on tiptoe, barely touching the ground. Sitting. Position the person comfortably in the chair, leaning back on the seat rather than anxiously forward. When you're feeling secure, relax by placing your hands on your lap or behind your head, or make a bell shape with your hands when making and assessing judgments. Draw the lower half of the body as though it were still standing, with both feet on the ground or crossed loosely for comfort. Anxiety is manifested by intertwined or spasming legs. Keep your head still. One of the most obvious methods to demonstrate confidence is to keep your head still. Anxious persons are always seeking for threats, shifting their gaze from side to side, or avoiding the person with whom they are conversing if they become uneasy. To hold your head in one place, stare straight ahead as if you're viewing a specific location. Keep your head up at chin level, as though suspended from a point on the ceiling by a rope. People who are anxious prefer to keep their chin down, which was initially done to protect the vulnerable neck from attack. A self-assured figure maintains his head motionless, his gaze locked on a fixed point. It appears as if he will not move it from there for a long time. But the other character appears to move his glance from one moment to the next, staring aimlessly for possible threats from outside. Hands and arms. When we speak, we often wave our arms a lot or close and clench our hands if we are scared. You can reduce or eliminate these motions by laying them on your lap or leaving them hanging close to you. Holding the hands slightly in front or behind the back, as seen in royalty and presidents, is a frequent pose that expresses confidence with the hands. Holding your hands in your lap can be interpreted as a sign of nervousness, so be cautious. The one who conveys security keeps the hands behind the back relaxed, a posture induced by the stretch that happens when moving the torso forward and relaxing the navel. By supporting the upper portion of the body on the pelvis, this creates a tiny tension in the back, resulting in a curvature where the hands are perfectly supported. When the hands are drawn together and the arms are rigid, the worried character holds his hands at chest level near the head, generating tension in the hands and a certain stiffness in the arms. You might also remark that this stance is agitated rather than motionless. Anxiety manifests itself as restlessness. People who are overconfident can keep their hands still without moving or hiding them. Showing your hands can help you gain confidence because it shows you aren't nervous, don't have any weapons, and aren't clenching your fists. To that reason, it's a good idea to keep your hands out of your pockets. Nevertheless, keeping your hands resting on the pockets of your jeans, hanging through the thumbs that are inside, can suggest confidence. Casual, unhurried. Anxiety causes people to hurry faster, speak more quickly, and move more swiftly. A person does not need to respond quickly, and this is demonstrated by acting slowly. Speed. When you move, make sure you do so on a regular basis. This isn't to mean you move at an unusually sluggish rate or as if you're a robot, even if it appears that way. Natural, unhurried movement, such as how you act when you're comfortable or relaxed, is the key. Reduce the speed of your speech. We think a lot faster than we talk, and it's easy to speak so quickly that people don't grasp what we're saying. Others may believe that our rapid speaking is related to our worry rather than our mental speed. When you're on the go, instead of taking hesitant and rushed steps, attempt to step with a distance between your feet and move at a natural and calm pace. Pauses. Add some pauses to your speech and motions, in addition to slowing down in general. When getting up, for example, you can move to the edge of the seat, hesitate, and then rise. Similarly, when walking, gesture in the direction you want to travel before beginning to walk. By waiting, you are sending a signal to the other person, enabling them to comprehend what you are about to do, lowering the likelihood of them being surprised or concerned. This is one of the ways that self-assured people influence others to be self-assured. Silences. For someone who exudes security and confidence, periods of stillness and inactivity might be relaxing. For many people, silence is unsettling, and as a result, it may be an effective persuasion tool that also reinforces your image of calmness and confidence. Uncovered. When we are anxious, we tend to cover our sensitive places with our hands and bodies to protect them from impending attacks. People who are self-assured do not feel the need to protect themselves, and they demonstrate this by being accessible to others. Notice how our safe character's stance remains upright, as if he's exposing himself to others, whereas the second character's posture is curved in a closed position. Openness. People that are defensive exhibit closed body language. They exhibit open body language, displaying vulnerable portions of the body, and remain calm when they are confident. Confidence should be expressed. People believe they are capable of expressing emotions, including bodily movements. They don't become extremely excited since overly expressive people are looking for sympathy or trying to force others to do anything. People who are self-assured do not require this. They have a greater tendency to smile, which includes the eyes. The confident character's smile is visible, and it extends to his brows. Naturalness. Above all, a self-assured individual appears natural. He doesn't appear to be trying to control his body, nor does he appear to require it. As a result, confident body language, rather than all acting, is usually indicative of genuine confidence. There's a thin line between appearing confident while displaying indications of insecurity and expressing oneself with confidence and confidence in a natural way. It's difficult to draw this, but if you do, your character will make an almost instant connection with others. Directness. People who are worried are hedging their bets and ready to flee. If your character is confident, he may be direct instead of sending signs that he is uneasy and ready to go at any time. Instead, you can confidently participate by conversing with the other person and demonstrating that you are secure. Greeting. Greeting someone assertively, staring them in the eyes, and smiling indicates confidence. Maintain a relaxed body for your character. If you shake hands, make a firm gesture that isn't too forceful or pushy. When you're face to face with someone else, it's a different story. When one person is confident and interacts with another, they may find themselves face to face with the other person, sometimes leaning slightly towards them. But, beware, he doesn't do it in a domineering manner, instead approaching too near and too quickly. The dominant person is frequently insecure and uses anger to hide his or her lack of confidence. The self-assured person looks around. You don't need to look for risks in the environment. They captivate others with their calm gaze, which is free of squinting, narrowing, or excessively widening. Take note of our guy's comfortable look, which he maintains while displaying himself slightly leaned towards the other character in the background. His body, particularly his head, is slightly shifted to the right, putting him closer to his right foot than his left. Despite being curled in the shape of an inverse C, his line of movement remains slightly to the right, barely visible to the human eye, but enough to convey self-assurance and confidence to the other figure. Listen, people who are anxious or dominant often feel compelled to speak. Confident people don't need to justify their beliefs or inflate their egos, so they are content to simply listen, which is a terrific approach to get to know others. Gestures, limited, forceful, and sensitive movements are used by a confident individual to amplify what he is expressing. They don't defend themselves by perching or moving around in huge, powerful movements. The palms of their hands are usually open and relaxed when they utilize their hands. At its most basic level, trust is defined as the absence or successful control of fear. A self-assured person does not appear to be threatened by others. But beware, in the face of a true threat, this can lead to false confidence and naivety. This is why a self-assured person has a realistic threat assessment and contingency plan in place, ensuring that they are prepared to cope with any threats that may come. There's a nice light among others that interprets your body language as a sign of confidence or arrogance, so be cautious. A person who is calm and confident is likable and admired. On the other hand, an arrogant person frequently dislikes and despises himself. The difference is that the proud individual utilizes his self-assurance to obtain power or status because he believes or wishes to feel superior to others. On the other hand, the calm and confident individual feels the same way about others. How to encourage your partner to trust you. It is not always possible to put one's trust in someone you may not be able to entrust part of your future in the hands of someone you love if they have not been able to express their concern and affection for you, no matter how much you love them. There are a variety of reasons for a lack of trust, but it is mainly the plague of infidelity-affected relationships. How can I trust him again, offer him hope, and even love him? Doubts assault the mind like an incessant hum, preventing us from sleeping peacefully when we know he is out drinking or hanging out with his pals. Even though it appears that all hope is lost, keep in mind that there is a way out of this circumstance. All you have to do now is propose it. It takes a team effort to build trust. If a person does not get involved, you will not offer him your complete trust. Trust works in the same way as a flower garden does. It can't happen overnight, and it must be tested first. Evidence that we are capable of fully opening ourselves to this person. But keep in mind that trusting does not imply that you should let go or close your eyes to any challenge or doubt. To avoid future dramas, accept that things may not go as planned and that the person you love, like anybody else, may disappoint you. You will save yourself a lot of grief if you can anticipate bad feelings. Cherish the trust you can give someone, and communicate with respect and sincerity. At the very least, you'll be able to wear them more comfortably. We offer 15 relationship saving suggestions. Whether you've just begun a new relationship, are attempting to overcome infidelity, or simply want to increase your present confidence, it may take some time or money to put them into practice, so be patient and explore how you can adapt each one to your specific situation. Keep in mind that everyone is unique, and appearances can be deceiving. Trust takes time and commitment. Don't be fooled by promises that may or may not be kept. And, most importantly, if you care about this person, don't give up hope of rekindling your connection. Determine the cause. Do you have any doubts about him, her? Without a doubt, the first step is to figure out why. The cause is sometimes evident, but other times it isn't. You can move forward and develop your relationship if you understand why this vulnerability exists. Learn to believe in yourself. It appears that trusting someone again after betrayal is difficult, and it makes us wonder about a number of things. Why haven't I noticed anything? Is it possible that I might have stopped it? These reservations reveal a lack of self-assurance. Keep this in mind when you're in a new relationship and talk to your partner about how to communicate mutual trust and confidence. Recognize the recurring patterns. Some patterns in relationships repeat themselves, even if you haven't earned it. Why? Because you always seem to be staring at the same people. If your previous relationships have failed, it's possible that you chose people who don't match your personality. Recognize these patterns so that you don't trip over the same stone twice. Respectful community. It seems obvious, but it is the most difficult thing to do. On the one hand, listen to the other's needs and fears, and on the other hand, express your own perception. Respect and honesty are required for effective communication. Everyone requires their own personal space. Expect negative emotions. It is completely normal to feel angry or jealous about a situation, especially after infidelity. These feelings will surface from time to time. Learn to control them and, most importantly, Identify them so that they do not harm your relationship. Make your expectations clear. If you've just started dating, it's a good idea to tell your partner what you hope to achieve in the future and what you don't want to experience again. It will allow you to determine whether you want the same thing and, more importantly, it will save you from potentially dangerous situations caused by a lack of communication. Make it clear what you believe so that we can all gain confidence. Make an effort to look at your partner objectively. Isn't that what you're looking for? It is. After all, the most effective way to boost self-esteem. This is based on what you try to see with your eyes outside of your environment, skills, and attitudes in various situations. Also, do some self-reflection. It will assist you in determining whether or not this person reciprocates your efforts. Examine whether it is deserving of your trust. Love can blind us, so it's helpful to get a second opinion to assess the situation. Regardless of how much you like this person, ask your family and friends if they think they deserve a vote of confidence. Give him a chance if you're deeply in love with him, but do so cautiously. Use the shared screen method. Apply the shared screen mental technique if your ex-partners continue to condition you when it comes to trusting today. On one hand, place your ex-boyfriend, and on the other hand, place your current partner. It will assist you in comparing and contrasting your trust in each individual as well as valuing your new relationship. Do not cling to your past. Don't refer to your past as baggage in general. These life events shape who you are, but they have no bearing on your new relationships. Learn from history without becoming obsessed with it. Also, keep in mind that everyone is unique. Accept taking risks. If your partner has been unfaithful to you, they will become defensive when meeting a new person. Although some questions arise, such as, is it worth it to be with someone who can deceive me? Ascend logically in your mind, and do not dismiss love and all of the opportunities it provides. Accept the risks, but don't be afraid to put your trust in others. Accept each other's differences. You may not agree on everything, and some issues such as children may keep you apart. But if you choose to be in this relationship, you accept the other for who they are. Don't try to change it or make it conform to your desires. Mutual understanding and respect are the foundations of trust. Spend more time with each other. Yes, it seems self-evident, but physical contact brings people together. The touch makes the affection, as the saying goes. The more time you spend together, the more collaboration and trust you should feel. Surveillance is no longer necessary. If you've been unfaithful, you'll understandably feel compelled to keep a tight grip on everything your partner does as a result of your betrayal. You have two options. Either you give him another chance and propose to trust him gradually again, or you do not see yourself being able to trust him in any way again and leave him for your own good. You won't be able to unify them any longer if you try to control all of their activities and connections. Visit a therapist. If you believe you are unable to solve your difficulties on your own, seek expert help. It will show you how to build a healthy relationship and learn to trust yourself, how to exude more self-assuredness, to take advantage of the chances offered to you at work. You must project confidence. When a professional shows confidence in themselves, they may identify their own strengths and focus their efforts on accomplishing their objectives. Fear, on the other hand, will prohibit you from attaining your objectives if you lack confidence. In this way, security is the motor that will propel you toward your objectives, whether you're beginning a new business, obtaining a promotion, or launching a project. Trust will help you overcome hurdles and make the most of each experience. Growth, working on their safety can be a difficult chore, so it's necessary to develop habits to improve your image. Consistency can help you improve some elements and give your staff more confidence. Here are some pointers to help you get there. Improve your ability to communicate. You must learn to communicate clearly and concisely, taking into account aspects such as speaking slowly, practicing breathing, using an acceptable tone of voice, and being aware of your body language, which should reinforce your ideas rather than distract your interlocutor. Recognize places where you can improve. A confident professional is aware of his or her abilities, yet focusing on your limitations and turning them into strengths will help you inspire confidence in your colleagues. Look after your image. Choose appropriate attire for the position you desire. A professional appearance not only conveys security but also demonstrates your enthusiasm for your work. Avoid improvising. It's natural to feel apprehensive before a meeting or conference. Nevertheless, by preparing yourself, you'll be able to overcome this circumstance by demonstrating confidence when presenting your arguments and sharing your views with your interlocutor. Smile. One of the most important aspects of nonverbal communication, since it not only conveys confidence but also your ability to socialize. Greeting. A firm greeting is necessary when presenting oneself to demonstrate security and interest in our interlocutor. Nonetheless, you must keep eye contact and an upright stance. Pay attention to your body language the first time you interact with someone. Each of the factors listed above has an impact on how your colleagues see you. Showing security will make it easier for you to join your team. At the same time, you will contribute to the development of a work atmosphere that encourages collaboration, improves communication, and boosts productivity. Are you self-confident? How to boost your self-belief? No one knows for certain. We're all vulnerable in some way. The most important thing is to understand yourself so that you may overcome your fears. There are no persons who are fully safe, despite the fact that others may claim otherwise. We've all experienced uncertainty, whether it's because we want to control the future or because we don't value ourselves enough. However, if we make the decision to live with our doubts and limits, and recognize that there are things in life beyond our control, we will feel more secure because we will know how to deal with our fears. When confronted with a major job, emotive, social, family, or economic obstacle, we often declare, "I'll accomplish it when I'm convinced of myself." "I don't know," we normally say when they ask when we'll be safe. We, too, are unsure of the answer. Self-confidence. How does it feel to be certain of oneself? When we ask a question to a large group of people, we will receive such a wide range of responses that we may be astonished. To be sure, I have no doubts about what I should do or how I should accomplish it. Others stated that being safe entails behaving despite reservations and having faith in the outcomes of one's actions. It's about becoming immune to criticism for some. Are these same criticisms being heard by others without devaluing themselves? This last method may assist us to better understand the mechanics of insecurity and hence conquer it. If we value P or what we are, that is, because we are here for the simple and joyful fact of life, and if that appreciation is shown to us through gestures, attitudes, and words, and if our accomplishments are acknowledged, our skills are put to good use, and we will quickly realize that we are connected to others. We will feel that we are not forced to justify our existence from our earliest practices, that we are not loved in exchange for what we do or do not do, but because we are thought worthy of love, therefore without recompense. Genuine love and admiration, given simply because we exist, are the foundations of security. False self-confidence beliefs. When we haven't learned to value ourselves, we're more likely to look for role models. Just as I am not worth too much, my resources are scarce or weak. Being who I am, I will achieve nothing, so I must be like that guy. They do feel confident in themselves. An internal voice says, we commit to these criteria all of the conditions that, in our opinion, make up a person's safety. In other words, we project onto them everything we don't perceive in ourselves. As a result, we will regard them as beings who do not doubt, who feel strong, who do not accept objections, and who travel the roads of life like massive and powerful trucks before all other vehicles turn around. We build a security ideal that, like all self-ideals born of flaws, becomes an impossible goal and, by its very existence, miserable. To compensate for our sense of insecurity, we suggest a security model that is so far distant from actual human emotional structures that it is difficult to implement and, in the end, causes even more worry for us. There are no persons who do not question, fear, or are unaware of uncertainty, and this must be stated as soon as possible. Those who profess to be on the outskirts of these human experiences conceal a tremendous deal of insecurity. When the potential of defeat, mistake, doubt, or not having control over something or someone is not acknowledged, when criticism is dreaded, and when one lives under the weight of excessive demands, compensating mechanisms are frequently invoked to mask all of this. Getting rid of your doubts. I'll attempt to show more conviction if there's more doubt. If there's more fear, I'll try to exhibit more recklessness, and if there's more hesitation, there'll be more momentum. I can persuade others that I am a safe person, but I will never persuade myself. I will carry a heavy inner tension burden in all of my acts, hoping that I am not perceived as hesitant, uncertain, or afraid, and there will be significant current and future emotional expenses as a result. To maintain that image, I'll have to shut every door that leads to my inner self and limit all inquiries about myself, my feelings, my desires, and my demands. We don't feel protected when we deny our insecurity. It transforms us into beings who block sections of their psychic and emotional environment, putting us in a more vulnerable position. Accepting our doubts, anxieties, and uncertainties, on the other hand, allows us to ask ourselves what we need to face each scenario in our lives. It also encourages us to consider what resources we have and where we are in our development. What do we need to do to make them stronger? What kind of assistance should we seek and from whom? And how can we do so in a calm and efficient manner? To put it another way, it aids our transformation and growth. Those who portray themselves to the world with an unshakable sense of security and cling to it are prisoners of that facade. Those who acknowledge their flaws are more entire and free. When a person learns and accepts their values and aptitudes, they cease configuring themselves by seeking other models, which are often illusory and misleading, and get the freedom to be in your own manner. As noted by the famous psychologist Viktor Frankl, this, in my opinion, is the most effective cure to fear. The better we understand ourselves in terms of our capabilities and limitations, the more we value ourselves for what we have and don't have, the better we can assume our existence in the here and now. The aversion to the future. It is undeniably in the here and now that we live our lives. Insecurity, like dread and worry, is about what hasn't happened yet and what we don't know will happen. It's not in what's happening right now, but in what's to come. What if I'm completely wrong? What will they do if I am unable to communicate? If I don't convert, what will? If you look at the major verbs in these lines, you'll notice that they're all in the future tense. When you add other terms from your harvest that connect to insecurity, you'll notice that the same thing happens. Insecurity separates us from the present moment, robbing us of our life's axis. Alan Watts, in his wonderful book The Wisdom of Insecurity, ed. Kairos, explains how we cling to the delusion of control over the future. We believe that if we could look at it objectively, we would be able to determine what to do and where not to go. Or should you not be looking? What should I do? The desire to create the future causes us to assume that, if it were possible, we would live a fully secure existence. And it's from there that we reach the other major source of self-doubt, as we've seen. The beginning is not being enough respected and accepted for our peculiarities. The second is a refusal to accept change as a necessary part of life. Life is a series of unpredictabilities. As a result, instability is a part of it. Accepting it will allow us to live in a more secure environment. The self-defense pillars. Let us examine this paradox when I acknowledge that not everything is in my power. When I recognize that there are elements outside of my decision, will, and control, and when I verify that my options have boundaries, freedom, and the opportunity to choose to better, allowing all that does not depend on me and that I cannot control to go, I am able to focus on what matters to me, my resources and prospects. I'll do better than I can when I realize I can't do everything. The safest person is not the one who knows everything and can do everything, but the one who understands what he overlooks and utilizes what he does know. As a result, we can arrange the security pillars as follows. Explore your inner world with sincerity in order to understand your resources and accept your limitations. Rather than wanting to be someone else, an ideal of illusion, we should believe in who we are and respect what we have. Assume that many things in life are beyond our control. We can't guarantee them, and we can't even ask for them. Concentrate on the actions that are dependent on us and devote all of our efforts to them. Include doubt, uncertainty, and bewilderment as suitable companions for our activities and judgments, recognizing that these are natural human emotions and feelings, and without fighting them. It is your ability to act in the face of doubts, concerns, and questions that will make you confident, not your lack of them. It is also your happiness with the processes rather than the outcomes that will make you confident. What provides us security is being true to our thoughts and feelings while also being honest with how we use our resources. Do what you want with your heart and don't worry about the outcome. This is the phrase that leads to safety. When you focus solely on the outcome and how others will perceive it, you plant the seed of insecurity. As a result, we will regard them as beings who do not doubt, who feel strong, who do not accept objections, and who travel the roads of life like massive and powerful trucks before all other vehicles turn around. We build a security ideal that, like all self-ideals born of flaws, becomes an impossible goal and, by its very existence, miserable. To compensate for our sense of insecurity, we suggest a security model that is so far distant from actual human emotional structures that it is difficult to implement and, in the end, causes even more worry for us. There are no persons who do not question, fear, or are unaware of uncertainty, and this must be stated as soon as possible. Those who profess to be on the outskirts of these human experiences conceal a tremendous deal of insecurity. When the potential of defeat, mistake, doubt, or not having control over something or someone is not acknowledged, when criticism is dreaded, and when one lives under the weight of excessive demands, compensating mechanisms are frequently invoked to mask all of this. Starting with this definition, we can identify a number of phrases that use the same concept as the one we're looking at right now. This is, for example, the predicament of the phrase breach of trust. It means that someone who has always been supported and given credit to another person has taken advantage of that situation, consciously or unconsciously, to injure or mock her. Similarly, we can't overlook another phrase that employs the same word as the one we're working with right now. It's a confidence vote. This term is used to convey that someone has given permission to another person to perform a specific action. In the political arena, though, the same expression is utilized, and it is via it that it is established that members of legislative chambers express their support and consent to the measures taken by the reigning government in a certain region or scenario. It's also used to describe when people provide permission to a government organization to carry out specified activities. The phrase question of trust is used specifically in the aforementioned political sphere. It has evolved to refer to a procedure in which the head of state or government is scrutinized by the rest of the legislative chamber members in order to determine whether or not they should continue to perform their duties through a vote. Resolution, on the other hand, relates to comfort in dealing. You don't have to comb your hair every time I come to your place. We already have enough trust, she says. You have no right to speak to me in that manner. I've never instilled such faith in you. Trust is a hypothesis established regarding the future behavior of people in social psychology and sociology. It is a conviction that predicts a person's ability to act clearly in a certain situation. I am going to tell my father everything. I am confident that he will understand me and aid me. In this way, trust can be strengthened or weakened depending on the other person's actions. If the father assists his kid, the trust will be strengthened. Otherwise, the trust will be violated, and the youngster will most likely not respond in the same manner in the future. The suspension of uncertainty about others' conduct, at least momentarily, is implied by trust. When someone trusts you, you believe you can predict your acts and behaviors. As a result, trust makes social relationships easier. Flirting is an art based on confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence and self-esteem are psychological notions that have a significant impact when meeting new individuals. When we also want to have a fun chat with someone but don't want to flirt, these two factors become even more important. We'll look at several major concepts to see how we may comment on them in this area of life. When enticing, self-confidence and self-esteem are expressed. It would be a stretch to infer that persons who have trouble acting confidently when flirting have low self-esteem or don't trust in themselves in general. It's not uncommon to meet people who have a general trust in their talents in settings they face virtually every day, such as school or work, but who struggle to display self-confidence in specific scenarios. They come into contact with each other in less structured ways, such as when they are attempting to flirt on weekends. And it's the fact that self-esteem and self-confidence aren't fully interchangeable. They do, however, have multiple facets and can alter based on the situation we are in. When speaking in front of an audience about a topic that excites them and that they are well versed in, many timid people gain confidence. Simultaneously, folks who are normally popular can become anxious and vulnerable if they are forced to talk in public about a subject they are unfamiliar with. This indicates that if we want to improve our social fluency in one area, we must focus on that area and nothing else. As a result, the most important thing is to establish self-confidence and behavior patterns that increase self-esteem, particularly in the context of seduction. Working on self-esteem in a broader sense, in the context of life as a whole, is crucial, and it helps to make social interactions more fluid and enjoyable in general. However, we should not stop there, as this can be used as an excuse not to leave the comfort zone, and instead begin to improve communication skills based on meeting people in, why not, seduction, because these types of problems are unique to social interaction. Overcoming them requires a concentration on this type of social connection rather than others. In other words, the act of breaking the ice, expressing interest, asserting oneself in front of people we don't know, and, in general, flirting should be linked to increasing self-confidence and self-esteem. Let's have a look at some of the possibilities. When flirting, there are 4 linguistic elements to expressing attractive self-confidence. There are a few psychological aspects to consider if you want to feel at ease and confident when flirting. Improvisation can help you gain confidence. When flirting, it's a bad idea to memorize pre-made sentences. You can use one to break the ice and start a conversation from time to time. But once you're in the conversation proper, what matters is your fluency and social skills at the time, not the funny words you read in a book or on the internet. Knowing how to adapt, responding to the areas of interest that link them both, and generating a comfortable climate that is comfortable are all part of seducing. Of course, improvising in this manner is more difficult than following a set of instructions step by step. Despite the fact that this aspect makes things more difficult, it also adds another factor that helps to make things easier, as we will see in the next point. Assuming the imperfection of communication demonstrates self-confidence. In the end, the capacity to construct technically flawless talks is far less appealing than the self-assurance gained by knowing that the conversation will have throwaway or outright ludicrous parts. Accepting that the main thing is not the technical correction, but the stimulating sensations and emotions in the discourse, demonstrates self-esteem and charm. Obsessing over not making mistakes divides our minds on numerous levels, making us more vulnerable to going blank and indicates vulnerability. We appear to be hiding in that sequence of words and gestures in this way. People who have a greater ability to flirt accept that there will be misunderstandings or ineffective exchanges of ideas from time to time. They can still use this as an opportunity to show off their attitude and even have some enjoyable experiences that lend itself to the joke. As a result, it is common for the act of attempting to execute foolish activities to work when seducing. The mere aim of doing so and demonstrating that we do so while being aware of how stupid it is makes it, paradoxically, not ridiculous. Fear of rejection is based on a misunderstanding. This is not to say that fear of rejection does not exist. On the contrary, it is a very genuine phenomenon that can manifest itself to varying degrees of intensity even in persons who are more adept at flirting. The idea is that, on the one hand, we must not fight to remove the fear of rejection from our minds, and on the other, it must be apparent that it is not based on facts that can show extremely stark truths. As we have seen, we're unsure of who we are. The fear of rejection arises from the worry of the negative consequences of someone's lack of interest in us. This is entirely possible. There's no reason to believe that everyone finds us fascinating. Is this, however, a particularly negative reflection on our identity? If they reject us, we try to bring viewpoints closer together because, in the vast majority of situations, they don't know us well. On the other hand, a single or sequence of interactions with someone will rarely provide us with an accurate reflection of who we are. Our self-concept, or I, is formed over time and through a variety of events, as aggravating as it can be. Having someone answer yes or no at a certain point in a dialogue will not shatter the patterns from which we examine who we are. There is no progress without practice. Finally, knowing everything above is useless unless it is put into practice. You must practice the social and emotional management skills required for flirting in order to improve them. As a result, many people seek out a psychologist to receive receive the theory and a set of rules for committing to this transformation process, using it successfully, and avoiding unneeded frustrations. Beginning with what works for beginners and progressing to the most ambitious challenges. Attracting women requires trust. Have you ever tried to start a conversation with a lovely woman only to drown in your own words and stutter like a lunatic? Men are turned into jellyfish by the prospect of meeting an attractive lady. But if you can conquer your fear and learn to be confident among women, you will appear much more attractive. Even if you don't feel confident, project confidence. To put it another way, act as if you don't know what you're doing until you do. It's not easy, but if you work hard to keep your body language strong and your words in check, you'll eventually gain the confidence you only planned to have at first. It's important to remember that practice makes perfect. While we're on the subject of practice, you should make every effort to be in the company of gorgeous ladies. If being calm around lovely girls is difficult for you, go to strip clubs, hostess bars, modeling events, or wherever else you know there will be plenty of attractive women. Don't try to get engaged with some of these ladies. Just hang out and have a good time kidding about with them. Beautiful ladies will lose their charisma if you put yourself in these situations on a frequent basis and force yourself to interact with them. You will feel much more at ease communicating with them in any situation. Enroll in dancing or yoga classes as well. On these sites, you will meet a lot of ladies, and you can have a lot of fun just interacting and having fun with them. Plus, women equate sexuality with men who can dance, so you have nothing to lose in this situation. Finally, and maybe most importantly, let go of the idea of result dependence. You alleviate yourself of the burden by not worrying about the outcome, making it easier to have fun and do your best. Treat gorgeous ladies the same way you would any other girl, and adhere to your original game plan no matter how tempting it is to regress to old behaviors. I constantly have a good mindset, which is the first step toward female success. As a result, you must undergo an interior transformation. If you believe playing the victim would garner a girl's attention, you'd just get her pity. As a result, it is advised that you present yourself as cheerful, upbeat, and as if being by her side is the best thing that has ever happened to her. It demonstrates confidence. Yet many men are scared by women because they are terrified of failing or making a fool of themselves. As a result, in order to succeed, you must set aside your concerns, anxiety, and jitters and simply be yourself. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to being confident among ladies. It's only a matter of altering your perspective. As with anything else, women are attracted to men who are confident. Learn how to be self-assured. Many men find it easy to project confidence when they are with other men, but when they are in front of a girl they admire, the game changes. So don't be surprised if talking to a female you like makes you nervous or insecure. However, if you want to seduce her, you should know that the first thing you need to do is build trust. While gaining confidence is difficult, you may at least act as if you do and encourage people to notice you. Directly to the point. When it comes to expressing yourself in front of a woman they like, some guys struggle. As a result, they end up over-explaining everything to you. You must not allow nervousness and fear to consume you if you want the female of your dreams to be drawn to you. Instead of implying that she knows you want to ask her out, express your desire to do so. Ask the question directly rather than asking indirect inquiries in the hopes of gaining an answer to the subject that is currently on your mind. This way, you won't come off like a lost child, and you'll ultimately get the information you need. Show off your gentler side. Don't be afraid to express some emotion. Women respond favorably to males who are able to show emotion. To work, you must express your true sentiments and share topics with her about which you are truly passionate. She will value you much more once she realizes that you can value the things that excite you. However, don't lose your attractiveness too quickly if it starts to lead you down the wrong path. If you start to become emotional in a negative way, she will assume something is wrong with you and will walk away. Do not seek their permission. Nothing demonstrates a man's lack of confidence more than the need for continuous compliments. Allow yourself to earn the compliments and respond appropriately. If she gives you a compliment, thank her nicely and tell her how much you appreciate her taking the time to notice you. This will show her that you are a man who is self-assured and does not require approval from others. This, in and of itself, will make you appear much more appealing and cause him to fall head over heels in love with you. The truth is that if you project enough confidence, you won't have to work too hard to attract any woman you choose. So start putting these suggestions into practice right now to make her feel attracted to you almost immediately. Hypnosis and Self-Hypnosis, Chapter 4. Terminology. Self-Concept. Frey describes the self-concept as a dynamic configuration of beliefs about the self and attitudes toward the self that the self is generally aware of or can become conscious of. This is a logical arrangement of self-perceptions and self-concepts. The following are some of the configuration's components: a person's assessment of his or her own qualities and talents, an assessment of one's talents in relation to those of others, experiences that can be categorized as pleasant or negative, self-esteem. The worth a person places on himself is characterized as self-esteem. Self-worth is a synonym for self-esteem. This entails assigning a value to the self, which is at the center of a person's being. Self-esteem is the value placed on a person's perceived self, in that a person does not always see himself as others do or as he is. As a result, self-esteem refers to one's assessment of one's own attributes. He feels worthless. He is often pessimistic, negative, and lacking in self-respect. He lacks self-confidence, and he is often unwilling to venture or take risks. He already perceives himself as a failure before attempting any task. He is easily discouraged. He prefers to withdraw. He is easily intimidated, and he may feel incompetent and inferior. He believes that rewards and accolades are accidental, meaning that they occur by chance or pure luck and are not the product of any action on his or her part. He may continually criticize himself, describing himself with words like terrible, dumb, helpless, and sad. Projection of responsibility onto others, an over-response to flattery, a lack of interest in competition, a sensitivity to criticism, a hypercritical attitude rather stress others' mistakes to cover up their own shortcomings. The self-concept and hypnosis. The evolution of the self-concept will be the subject of this chapter. The effectiveness of hypnosis as a tool for developing a positive self-concept and self-esteem will be investigated. Self-perception, a self-concept definition. Burns described self-concept as a person's whole image of himself, which includes his beliefs, assessments, and behavioral tendencies. The self, according to Vray, is the gestalt of what an individual can relate to as his own. As a result, the self-concept encompasses everything about a person's self, including how he or she views oneself, his or her values, aspirations, strengths, and flaws. It encompasses his thoughts and feelings. The concept of self is formed through an individual's conduct and activities. It is reasonable to believe that an individual's concept of self is mostly based on his or her response to the question, "Who am I?" Through interactions with others and the environment, the child comes to understand himself. The information a child receives from his environment and others will have an impact on his self-perception. This means that the individual does not have a self-concept at birth, but develops one over time as a result of his interactions with people and his surroundings. This interaction is made up of the individual's awareness of his specific environment in the context of a set of social relationships. As a result, your self-concept is a reflection of how others perceive you. This self-awareness that arises through an individual's connection with his environment is the outcome of a hidden reflecting process in which the individual considers personal or potential actions from the perspective of others with whom he interacts. In other words, the individual becomes an object to himself by putting himself in the shoes of others and evaluating his behavior through their eyes. This evaluation entails attempting to predict others' reactions and assessing those responses in terms of their consequences for the individual's identity. Cooley supported the theory that the self arises as a result of interpersonal contact in a social setting. Each social interaction in which the individual is involved, according to Cooley, represents the self incorporated into the individual's identity. People live in a world of mirrors because they are involved in a variety of social relationships, each of which provides a unique reflection. Each mirror shows the individual a different image of themselves. It's possible that some of these mirrors will produce a more accurate image than others. Regardless of the reflected image, the individual cannot escape the identity definitions he sees reflected in others. This is referred to as the looking glass theory by Cooley. When it comes to defining the concept of the looking glass hypothesis, Cooley offers the following definition. Each person has a magnifying glass, follows the one who is passing. We perceive in another person's mind some thought of our appearance, manners, aims, deeds, character, and friends, and are differently influenced by it because we see our appearance, figure, and dress in the glass and are involved in them because they are ours. So in our imagination, we perceive in another person's mind some thought of our appearance, manners, aims, deeds, character, and friends, and are differently influenced by it. The concept of our appearance to the other body, the imagining of his assessment of that appearance, and some self-feeling, such as pride or mortification, appear to be the three essential ingredients of such a self-idea. The images reflected by the individual in the various mirrors will be understood in terms of the uniqueness of each individual. The explanation for this is that people differ in terms of their sensitivity to other people's opinions and the consistency with which they keep a particular type of self-feeling. Furthermore, people differ in the quantity of social reinforcement they seek on a regular basis to preserve their self-esteem. The combination of good and negative feelings linked with one's self-concept varies from person to person. They also differ in whatever aspects of their lives are most strongly linked to self-awareness. Cooley's looking glass theory emphasizes the relevance of significant persons in the formation of one's self-concept. Because of the many images, these are the most influential people in the child's life. The image reflected in the child will be perceived by the youngster as either bad or positive, depending on the surrounding circumstances. These images are incorporated into the child's developing self-concept. The ability to assimilate images into the developing self-concept requires that the image be constantly mirrored over time. Positive views, reactions, and definitions of others are not the only sources of an individual's self-concept. Individuals, on the other hand, are also viewed as acting subjects, according to Mead. This can be explained by the I and me components of the self-concept. The me is the object of the self, while the I is the subject of the self. The me dimension is defined as a person's attitude, feelings, and perceptions of himself as objects. Ferns, 1988. 13. The self, according to Ramey, is an object that encompasses the individual as known to the individual. All that a person may call his own is the me. The objective self, or me, is made up of 4 parts: the spiritual self, the material self, the social self, and the bodily self. The I element of the self, on the other hand, covers all psychological processes that regulate and influence a person's conduct. The self is thus considered as a doer as a subject because it engages in active activities like as thinking, remembering, acting, and experiencing. As a result, the self is significantly more than what the individual views as having or not having, or what he learns about himself through the various images that are reflected back to him. As a result, the self encompasses not only who we are but also what we do. I as the knower and I as the known are implied by the self as the subject of I, and the self as an object or me. Even if there is a separation between the self as an object and the self as a subject, the two are inextricably linked and cannot exist separately. The self cannot exist without the individual who perceives himself and acts on that experience. Mead explained how the self as an object and the self as a subject interact in a reciprocal way. To summarize, the self is the center of one's being that one becomes aware of, and it encompasses all elements of human existence. It is the focus of experience and meaning for an individual's entire personal life world. Each person interacts with his or her environment. Because every person will give meaning to his environment, the personality emerges as a result of this interaction. When the student's self-concept is mentioned, it refers to the collection of beliefs about himself that the learner is likely to hold at any one time. The learner's subjective assessment of his abilities, talents, potential, and conduct is called self-concept. The self-characteristics concepts. Steadfast is the formulated self-concept. Hamashek described this trait in terms of a person he knew, and it became predictable. As a result, there is a connection between how a person is today, how he or she was yesterday, and how he or she will be tomorrow. All behavior is motivated by the maintenance of the perceived self. According to Combe and Snag, the individual works to understand, defend, and improve the self that he or she is aware of. New experiences are processed and comprehended in terms of the self that already exists. Whatever the self is, it becomes a focal point, a point of reference, and a benchmark for comparison. It's possible that the learner's classroom experiences are at odds with the picture he or she holds of himself. Any changes or experiences that are in contradiction to the learner's current self may be first resisted. This, according to Jerslid, is the learner's attempt to protect his image of himself. This is a representation of the essential self-concept beliefs acquired in the early stages of life. The self's attempt to defend himself and interpret new experiences in light of these views does not rule out the possibility of change, but it does signal that change will be gradual. It is feasible to make modifications, but doing so will necessitate a lot of repetition. The ramifications of this include that basic beliefs formed early in a learner's development may be resistant to alter due to their steadiness. The unchangeable nature of the self-concept, which makes it hard to change, emphasizes the need of ensuring that quality engagement begins early in the learner's life. During this time, variables such as family, friends, society, and school should interact in such a way that they contribute to the construction of the self-concept in a favorable way. If this does not happen, the interactions between these circumstances and the self-concept will eventually lead to the development of a negative self-concept. Change resistance isn't always viewed as a bad thing. Resistance might be viewed positively at times. The ego acquires a continuous personality as a result of resistance to change. Perky claims that it doesn't matter how terrible the self is. The fact that the self is constant is crucial, since having no self-concept at all is preferable to having a negative one. Hypnosis is a therapeutic technique rather than a treatment. In other words, hypnosis is a collection of procedures that, when used in conjunction with other therapeutic approaches, can significantly improve outcomes. Hypnosis can usually shorten the time of therapy and make the results more consistent. Another false idea is that hypnosis weakens or breaks the subject's willpower. Whatever we wish to understand by will, we'll look at the relationship between hypnosis, consciousness, and will in more detail later. For the time being, claim that hypnosis and self-hypnosis both help a person's determination to achieve their goals. Another common misconception is that hypnosis causes you to lose control of your actions. Myths about hypnosis in television shows contribute to this detrimental belief as well. The truth is that hypnotizing someone against their will or forcing them to undertake extravagant activities that go against their sense of ridicule or moral norms is unlikely. If you can do it under hypnosis, we can be sure you can do it in a waking state as well. Hypnosis is a perfectly natural procedure that improves the patient and creates a special bond with the hypnotist. It is not static, but rather dynamic. Another myth is that when you're in a hypnotic trance, you lose consciousness of what's going on. Various whole or partial amnesia occurrences can occur in both medium and deep trances. Furthermore, it frequently induces drowsiness in the subject, although this does not suggest that they are obeying the hypnotist's commands. The numerous hypnotic dissociation states, on the other hand, might create opposite consciousness phenomena like hyperlucency and sensory sharpening. Another key issue is the belief that in hypnosis, everything happens effortlessly and unconsciously without the subject having to exert any effort. The importance of active collaboration should be stressed. This is especially important in self-hypnosis, as we will see later. Finally, proper limitations and realistic expectations must be established. Frequently asked hypnosis questions. Who is the source of hypnosis? It should be obvious that hypnosis happens after a succession of linked suggestions in most cases. It is created by the therapist in partnership with the subject. Is it possible to hypnotize everyone or only specific types of people? The ability to be hypnotized is a question of degree, just like any other aptitude. Is there a correlation between hypnotizability and personality type? Absolutely. Responds to a test of ability. Who has been hypnotized and is therefore vulnerable to the hypnotist's influence? Unable of resisting new trances? No. The answer is no. Is it possible to hypnotize the person into doing or saying something against his will? Is it possible for someone to be forced to behave against their ethical or moral principles? No one loses their volitional attitude or ability to make decisions and respond to hypnotic suggestions freely, deliberately, and responsibly. Is hypnosis harmful to one's health? In what circumstances and under what circumstances? No. In general and as a therapeutic technique under the supervision of an expert. Is it true that hypnosis makes you reliant on the hypnotist? Absolutely. Is there a chance you won't be able to wake up from your hypnotic state? Under no circumstances. Are you dozing off in your hypnotic trance? Unconscious. You are entranced in the hypnotic trance, not asleep or unconscious. Is hypnosis usually a boring induction procedure? Please don't. Is it necessary for the person to be calm in order to enter hypnosis? Relaxation is beneficial, but it is not required. Willpower, hypnosis, and conscience. First, hypnotic trance will be impossible if the individual is actively engaged with items. Second, it is impossible to elicit behavior that is inconsistent with the hypnotized subject's ethical and moral convictions via hypnosis. The use of cognitive resources in behavior under hypnosis, on the other hand, has been established. Subjects, on the other hand, see their involuntary conduct when questioned after a session. Preconceptions about hypnosis exist, such as the hypnotist's control, the involuntary execution of behavior, and the unique qualities of hypnotizable persons. Subjects internalize the requirement for involuntary behavior and act accordingly. Relaxation, mental abandonment, inner concentration, and peace are all hypnotist messages, as is the inhibition of rational reasoning. The discourse is suggestive. In reality, hypnotic susceptibility is linked to the ability to construct suggested imagery. State theorists define hypnosis as an altered state of consciousness marked by the loss of planning behavior, alteration of attention, selectivity of perception, tolerance to reality distortion, or alteration of memory. To fully comprehend this remark, one must first define the terms altered state of consciousness and, in a broader sense, consciousness. Subjective metrics, retrieved from the subject while comparing consciousness with recollection of the procedure. Recorded cognitive resources, or the subject's will, have been employed in these experiments. However, psychophysiological tests, whose results would allow us to distinguish between hypnotized and non-hypnotized people, appear to be more suited than these. Although there are significant discrepancies between the data supplied by various writers in this regard, it is obvious that there are psychophysiological variations between those in a trance state and those in a normal condition. Self-hypnosis and hypnosis. Almost everyone has been in everyday conditions that are similar to a hypnotic trance at some point in their lives, e.g., when daydreaming, when losing track of time, etc. The primary difference between these sorts of trance and self-hypnosis is that the latter involves motivation and is geared toward reaching a specific goal, e.g., pain relief, relaxation, etc. The power of conscious critique is lost in hypnosis. Instead, ideas are delivered straight to the unconscious. In this section, we'll ask ourselves, how is hypnosis related to self-hypnosis? Many specialists agree that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Hence the answer is yes. That is, a hypnotherapist can assist in guiding or inducing trance, but you are always in charge. When a person's most basic interests are threatened or clashed, he or she is powerless to act. Another question that may arise at this stage is, are there any restrictions to self-hypnosis? Self-hypnosis allows you to be both the operator guide and the subject at the same time. It is like being both the director and the protagonist of a movie. This has several drawbacks, such as the fact that some techniques will take more practice, as in regression. Self-hypnosis, on the other hand, can provide hypnotic effects, e.g., surgical interventions have been conducted solely using pain prevention-oriented self-hypnosis, such as anesthesia, V-Rausch, 1980. The ability to use and benefit from self-hypnosis is mostly dependent on the individual's desire to change. Auto-hypnotic techniques. There are several types of auto-hypnotic techniques. This section will go over the many techniques for inducing hypnotic trance. These strategies can be altered and modified to suit the needs of each individual. All of the procedures listed here should be followed by some basic relaxation instructions that the subject should follow before beginning the technique in question. This contributes to the trance state's appearance. The techniques we're talking about are as follows. 1. Cassette recording. This technique has the advantage of allowing the person to practice self-hypnosis without having to worry about finding the proper words and recommendations at the right moment. As the person develops self-hypnosis, he can incorporate suggestions that respond to increasingly specific goals and post-hypnotic supports. The subject may also incorporate his suggestions in numerous scripts. Special attention must be made to the following guidelines in order for this technique to be more effective. Create a clear and explicit list of goals. What we'll work on, why we'll work on it, and how long we'll work on it. Write down everything the person wants to say to himself, including relaxation and stress management tips. For example, make numerous recommendations for each goal. Try to descend as deep as possible into the trance. Picture going down a ladder and going deeper and deeper into the trance, etc. Locate and create content for mental visualization. In each session, focus on only one or two specific goals. If wanted, play music in the background. At the conclusion of the trance, I'll include a suggestion for re-entering a self-hypnotic trance the next time I practice it. I reason that if I breathe deeply and envision that blue hue, I'll feel comfortable and well again. Start the recording with a regular voice tone and gradually lower it as the session proceeds. Hold the session in a calm, distraction-free environment. 2. Indirect language method. This strategy uses flexible language to make indirect and permissive requests and suggestions. It is implied that the person could accomplish something or could perceive a difference as a result of doing so. Now I'd like to see how amazing it feels to breathe in a relaxed and deep way. For example, could be a recommendation to begin a session utilizing this technique. 3. Direct language method. This method differs from the preceding in that the suggestions are presented in a more strong and authoritative manner. I'll start to feel heavy. I felt my feet sink into the sand, is an example of a suggestion. 4. Visual fixation method. This technique entails the person focusing their visual attention and concentration on a point or item in front of them. In other words, the person concentrates on a point and progressively enters a trance as they do so. When I look at the blue color, I will relax more and more, is an example of how to begin a session utilizing this technique. 5. Guided imagery technique. In this technique, the mind is urged to develop mental images, sensations, and other thoughts about various settings. Each breath relieves me of stress. I may envision a kettle from which all the steam exits, relieving it from pressure, is an example of suggestion. 6. Self-hypnosis through dreams. The basic goal is to enter a self-hypnotic state and gather dreamlike information in order to generate constructive ideas. I'm aware that this state of relaxation is akin to that of a dream. 7. The Ericksonian handshake technique. It is chosen based on the condition of the hand at the start of the practice session. It's as simple as extending one or both arms forward to shake someone's hand at the start of the session. It's just a matter of creating sensations in this arm from some indicator that my trance has begun. Maybe that I begin to feel the arm lighter. Once you've arrived at this point. 8. Music-assisted self-hypnosis. This technique involves using music as a vehicle for a person to reach a trance state. This music can be soothing or energizing. The key factor is that the listener is absorbed in it. Begin by relaxing without music and gradually add music as you enter a trance. This method has the advantage of being able to be employed at any moment because the subject can summon the music in his head at any time. 9. Self-hypnosis deepening. This approach can be combined with others to achieve the best results. It consists of abruptly exiting and re-entering trance, which will benefit you each time you enter trance. It's a lot deeper. Notice the sense of relaxation equals trance, and now I begin to awaken to a level of heightened attentiveness equals awakening from the trance, is an example of a suggestion using this approach. Self-hypnosis is an effective method for programming your mind. It works on the premise that when you relax and stop thinking, your brain becomes extraordinarily receptive to suggestions. These ideas then take root in your mind and create an impression on your life. The brain is a complicated organ. You're always deliberating, justifying, and reasoning. You frequently resist adopting new beliefs and attitudes that will help you live a better life. Self-hypnosis, like affirmations, is a gradual process. You teach your mind to want what you want every time you do it, but that programming usually fades. As a result, You'll need to repeat your self-hypnosis sessions until your mind is completely convinced of the new ideas you're learning. This does not necessitate the use of expensive equipment or software. Use a cassette tape instead. Follow these steps to make and use your self-hypnosis tape efficiently. Remove any potential sources of distraction. Disconnect your phone line and turn off your cell phone. You don't want to be stopped when recording for 20 minutes. Don't be concerned if you make a grammatical error when reading the writing. Just maintain your composure. Any speaking errors you made will look so little when you listen to the audio later that you won't even notice them. Before you begin reading the material, make sure there is no background noise, such as air conditioning or traffic, and use your normal voice. Speak at a comfortable speed, not too fast or too sluggish. So, when the recording says relaxing oxygen, take it slowly and speak in a more relaxed tone. Because you will be in a deep state of peace while listening to the tape, it must have a quiet voice. Turn off phones and other potential distractions while listening to the tape. You don't want to be in the middle of a deep sleep just to be rudely awakened. When listening to your recording, become comfortable by reclining down and relaxing. Listen with an open mind. I prefer to lie down on a sofa. Stick to the guidelines you've set for yourself. Write engraved. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in and out. Allow yourself to unwind a little. Today, I want you to experience all of your anxieties, all of your worries that are causing stress, packed into a tight little ball on your forehead. Feel the stress you felt when you were afraid about getting rejected by girls before. On your forehead, feel the pressures of work, your job, your ambitions, and everything else. I'd like you to visualize all of those tensions dissipating. Allow them to flow from your brow, down your face, chin, and neck, down your chest, stomach, and waist, and finally down your legs and through your toes until they leave your body. As you relax more and more, all of the tension in your body dissipates. I want you to think that you are breathing warm air that relaxes you as you inhale. Feel the calming oxygen filling your chest cavity, which gives you a warm, soft sensation. Feel how relaxation spreads throughout your chest and body at this point. Allow your breath to get increasingly deeper, supplying you with more and more calming oxygen. With each inhalation, you'll drift further into that blissful state of relaxation. A 15-second pause, because you sound comfortable and attentive. I'd like you to mentally repeat these affirmations to yourself as I say them. I'm quite pleased with myself. Pause and repeat after each of these statements. Being an upbeat person allows me to accomplish anything I want in life. I am always striving for betterment. There are no limits to what I can achieve, so I'll train my mind to achieve phenomenal success beyond my wildest aspirations. Because I am adopting the same mindset as those highly great individuals, I am confident that this will work. Now that you've spoken your affirmations, I'll count to 10. And with each number I say, you'll become more relaxed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, more relaxed. 8, 9, 10. You've attained the deepest state of relaxation possible while awake. You will now take use of this opportunity to program your mind to its full potential. You're a hot guy. You, like every male, have the ability to make a lady happy. You want to have sex with attractive and sexy girls. You have complete control over your schedule. Nobody else is in possession of it. You have the power to select how successful you can be at what you do. And you like it, because you have the ability to reach out and be positive. You exude an atmosphere of balance, brilliance, serenity, and unwavering confidence. You have a powerful mind, and the power you wield is just increasing your might. It determines whether or not you reach your objectives. Take another deep inhale and experience the sensation of complete relaxation. With me, say the following affirmations to yourself. I let go of the need for others to have control over my life. Repeat after each of them, pausing after each one. I only require my approval. I can't know what other people are thinking about me, and I'm the only one who can make decisions about my own life. I'm a powerful alpha dude. I walk like if I'm someone important, and I have a lot of self-confidence. Women are a source of joy and pleasure in my life, thus I adore them. When I have sex with a lady, I do so with zeal and for the complete delight of myself and my lovely companion. I have fantasized about making love to women. I enjoy making love. I enjoy giving affection. Now is the time to simply listen without feeling compelled to repeat anything. Continue to appreciate how at ease you are. Allow your mind to be in fullness while allowing all of these thoughts to flow. Because you are in charge of your own life when you are with a woman, you remain calm and peaceful no matter what happens. You don't worry or focus too much on what she thinks of you since you know you're a fun, intriguing guy, and she's fortunate to be with someone like you. You are the universe's most significant character. You are fantastic, and any lady would be happy to be with you. You have everything you desire because you exude warmth and positivity. You will never, ever, 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 you're not a natural follower. You're a natural leader. You lead a busy life. You enjoy yourself and are always on the lookout for emotions. Even in the smallest of things, you look after your health because you want to be a healthy, attractive person who enjoys life. It's fascinating to follow your life. You appreciate informing women about the interesting events that occur in your life. You have a strong drive for financial success, and you know that you can do anything you set your mind to. And you relish the opportunity to move closer to your goal. You want to be successful with ladies. your health, excellent friends, financial wealth, and the interests and passions that you desire. Now relax and take a deep breath. Take a moment to appreciate the sense of having complete control over your life. If you want to be successful, you can, and you will enjoy every minute of it. You adore it when your dreams come true, which they always do. Soon, you'll wake up from your slumber and become more alert. You will get more awake as I count to 5. 1, 2, more awake, 3. You feel rejuvenated when you wake up, full of vitality and strength, and immense confidence. 4. Keep your eyes open. You are a 5-year-old alpha male who is completely awake. You're feeling revitalized and in a fantastic mood. Seduction and erotic hypnosis. Eroticism has a lengthy history in the field of seduction. Eroticism, which includes eye, voice, body movement, chant, enchantment, incense, oil and wax, paraffin, gel, petroleum jelly, perfume, acts, letters, images, and symbols, is used by a number of well-known seductresses, as these are seduction factors. We'll start with Sigmund Freud's psychosexual development analysis to understand erotic hypnosis and seduction. He divides the anal, phallic, libido, genital, and oral functions, all of which are important in human sexual development. To properly define eroticism in a scented setting, it is not always the BDSM, social deviance, fetish, or Lolita, as most sociologists and sexologists drew from Lolita's novel as more intense passion in the seduction of sexic and sexiness of feeling and being sexy. It's like using your mind's impassioned willpower to satisfy, persuade, and appeal to a person's desires. Erotic seduction and hypnosis are alternative therapies for healing the psyche, neurosis, psychosis, sexual repression, disorders, and sexual abuse victims in holistic healing, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, neurolinguistic programming NLP, sex therapy, and other fields. It can also be used to resolve karma, regrets, and unfulfilled wishes, dream projections, as well as to enhance and empower the mind, self-concept, business concept, and mana. Erotic hypnosis is a self-discipline, pleasure, and cultural practices alternative technique. Erotic hypnosis has also been utilized for pleasure, self-development, and institutionalization. The majority of social deviance, personality development, and cultural groupings engage in acute and extreme erotic seduction. Erotic hypnosis and hypnotics are used for pleasure, amusement, leisure, treatment, and discipline in this environment. Only these procedures have been used, and all practices and pleasures have been validated and derived, as well as carefully considered before being practiced. To begin, I'll briefly discuss shame and guilt, psychosis, and neurosis. This is because ID, ego, and superego are centered on our belief system, values, and norms. Ego defines what society expects of us, while ID reveals our inner desires, urges, and wills, and superego is the internal decision-making and bargaining that occurs between the ID and the ego. Shame are the motivators for drive and willpower in erotic hypnosis. As a result, as you begin to explore erotic seduction and feelings of shame and guilt, you'll be opening the door to better erotic hypnosis. However, at first, you may experience shameful paranoia, which discourages thoughts, imagination, and mockery, or that guilt and gut feeling known as psychosis, which gives you this high of I am becoming this individual practicing these practices. That gut feeling of realization may bring intense guilt, but this is the start and entrance to erotic hypnosis. When one begins to use sensual hypnosis, hypnotics and seduction to their advantage, there is an improvement in self-confidence, a boost in self-esteem, improved social relationships and friendships, love relationships, and sex life, as well as a boost in mana. Erotic hypnosis aids in the acceptance of the world from a fresh perspective, as well as the development of emotional intelligence, endurance, and tolerance. Yoga, holistic healing, and wellness therapy all follow a similar self-discipline principle. Most people who suffer from sexual problems like attraction disorders, arousal disorders, sexual anxiety, and so on employ erotic hypnosis and seduction as an alternative therapy. Let's take a look at my sensual hypnosis and seduction technique. Erotic does not refer to extreme passion, lust, flaming desire, or red or black magic. It entails enticing, persuading, and appealing to others through your intellect, imagination, and visualization. Your thoughts, imagination, fancy, and dreams are all under your control. Practicing sensual hypnosis and seduction makes you an expert, and you can use it anywhere. A still and clear mind is an easy technique to accomplish. Start with a breathing exercise. Breathing exercises are crucial for calming the mind and relaxing the muscles. It also makes it easier for you to access your emotional, mental, and subjective worlds. To begin, sit in a quiet, well-ventilated area where you will not be bothered. Relax your arms, legs, and eyes. Gaze. Then begin with an inhale and exhale from the stomach through the lung to your nostril. Repeat as many times as possible. Once you begin to experience the presence of cool, warm or goosebumps sensations around you, you have gained access to your subjective world. Self-hypnosis is the second option. Self-hypnosis is beneficial because it enhances imagery, clear thinking, and imagination. Self-hypnosis is just one step in using your mind to create a subjective, emotional, and mental reality. Self-hypnosis is an excellent way to deal with tension and anxiety. In psychology and psychotherapy, it's known as psychoanalysis since it helps you comprehend your ideas, imagination, dreams, and fantasies. What role does this play in seduction and eroticism? This is because we govern the imagination, fantasy, and dream, and we need to understand how our minds work. Erotic hypnosis is concerned with bringing your subjective fantasy dreams into reality. For example, I have a nudist fantasy and wish to receive a massage from a nudist masseur on a nudist beach. This has been conjured up in my mind thanks to my imagination and my enthusiasm for the concept. My mind has been hypnotized by imagination to have a nudist masseur for my massage session, which is done with my mind, and I accept the idea without guilt or shame, which is what hypnosis is. You begin to realize that once I am the narrating fantasy of a nude beach with a nude masseur, the therapist and the client exist in the same psychical environment. It might not necessarily be the same experience for the therapist listening in psychotherapy, where the therapist and the client become co-subjects to share your dream and imagination at this phase. That once I am the narrating fantasy of a nude beach with a nude masseur, the therapist and the client. The therapist continues to recreate the same dream in his psychic environment. That is why most therapists prefer objectivity and co-subjectivity to be more detailed. In a dream analysis of the nudist fantasy of the nude beach, nude masseur, and detailed description of the nudist fantasy visualized, I am a nudist of African descent, with a chocolate complexion and a height of 5 feet. I walk into a beach with a muscular, athletic body, stocky legs, and bubble butt. Palm trees, blues, oceans, white sand, lots of corals, flowers, seaweeds, crabs, and eels are all part of my beach description. The beach has a dock and a tent facing the beach. Close to the tents is a massage table, adorned in a white robe. Standing next to the massage table is a nude masseuse holding a raw pineapple fruit drink, waiting for the next client. In the tents, there is a table with drinks. The waiters are all nude, walking in and out waiting and attending to guests. The atmosphere is hot, windy, and chilly. The trees, leaves are in swift motion. As you read or listen to my description, I and the herd ostensible of your mind exist in the same physical environment to fully comprehend the fantasy world created and exist in different physical environments, surroundings to fully comprehend the fantasy world created. Interpsychical and intrapsychical are terms used to describe this. The world of the nudist beach, the sea, the waves, the breeze, the trees, the infrastructure, the tent, the people, and so on is interpsychical. The subjective feeling, the perception I try to persuade within the environment, is called intrapsychical. Interpsychical is also awe-inspiring, because it can exist in both the objective and subjective worlds, as well as in your physical space. The next step is to create effective erotic hypnosis and seduction by combining this mental ability with breathing exercises and visualization. The body is a composite of the body, physiology, mana, and mind and ambient consciousness in an expressive, artistic, and aesthetic manner in a balanced interaction and elasticity with the psyche and body, psychosomatic, and in the theory of deep social mind of the theatrical mind, thyself and self-concept and business concept, which include the use of the 5 senses, seeing, hearing, touch, smell, and taste is a composite of the body. Physiology, seeing, ajna, third eye, intuition or instincts or mind's eye and heart chakra or opening chakras, eyes, neck, upper and lower back, lips, earlobes, nipples, breast, vulva, vagina, penis and scrotum, anal orifice, anus, anal sphincter, G-spot, vulva, vagina, penis and scrotum, anal orifice, perineum, perineal raphe, phallic of the navel, calf of the legs, feet and toes, arm, hand, and fingers, touch, feeling, movement and dummy trail, piercing, massage, dance or a sense, influence, sexual intelligence, sapiosexuality, wishes and dream fantasy, reasoning, character and behavior, psychic arousal of flirts, tease, and erotic hypnotics of mental illusion are some of the other terms used in the BDSM. Your eyes are the door to your soul, and they are the most important and essential organ for hypnosis. The pupil and iris of the eyes allow light to pass through into the retina, which aids in sighting and vision for dim, dark, and bright reflections, as well as the mind's eyes and vision or visualization. It expresses your feelings, emotions, and desires. The eyes can tell shame, guilt, pain, and pleasure when in erotic seduction and hypnotic hypnosis. The ability to read people's eyes and emotions can help you understand how to persuade, please, and be a lust object. The pupils and iris are the main parts of the eyes that help with hypnosis. As soon as you start touching someone, the iris moves its dilator muscles to dilate the pupil. Most circus magicians use this to divert your attention for a few seconds while changing a reaction for you to observe. Mastering the art of seducing with the eyes will allow you to persuade and appeal to someone. In hypnotizing and seducing, use the general spiral hypnosis, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, to dilate pupils, the winking blink of an erecting eyelid and lashes, Lust, desire, and enchantment are all signals sent by the eyelid and lashes. This is how you erect your eyelashes and dilate your eyes. Use chi energy and transfer it to your eyes, allowing it to flow through the eyelid. Use chi energy to create lust, desire, passion, rejection, intimacy, and the chi energy erects your eyelashes, allowing you to enter hypnosis. This is effective and beneficial for people with attraction disorder, as well as for awakening the mind, eyes, and opening the awareness of the heart chakra and chakras through visualization or ajna. Lips. Lips are a part of the oral cavity and can also be erotic. You don't need to kiss, pout, or lick your lips to hypnotize in this case, though it does work for some people. Lips have a seductive quality to them. It's very enticing. My erotic techniques use the lips as a vulva that expands and contracts. However, it expands in this manner, allowing blood to flow into your lower lips first, and then your upper lips makes this easier. This can be seen in people with full lips. Women who wear lipstick can expand their lips, giving them this seductive lipstick shaded shape. When you direct your partner's gaze to your lips and quickly expand and contract them, most times like a lip sync, a small movement of the lower lips followed by the upper lips. This is useful in attracting and seducing them. Avoid portraying a pout or kiss that the viewer might find desperate or repulsive, as this will ruin your hypnosis. The human ear is also a delicate part of the body. It is both sound and touch sensitive. When you use breath, air, and lick to dangle in a show of desire, lust, and intensity, the ear is also very useful in erotic hypnosis, hypnotizing, and seduction. The ear transmits your voice, sound into the brain during auditory hypnosis and hypnotizing, and the brain decodes these sounds into feelings as heard ostensibly. As a result, whispering is always enticing and hypnotizing. A whisper with dangling earlobes and loops will turn the object of desire into pleasure. Movement of the body. The use of your mind, psyche, muscles, and body in depicting an act of your intended imagination and anticipation and reception of the desired pleasure is also a technique in erotic hypnosis. This mental visualization must be balanced in the psyche-somatic mind-body balance and stimulation, which is accomplished by awakening the body's moon center. Belly dancing, strip dancing, nipple jiggling, navel plays, tiptoes walk, swirl walk, slow dance, wheelbarrow, butterfly whirl, spiral swirl walk, and dummy trails are just a few of the hypnotizing seductive movements. Dummy trails are used to portray seductive acting using yoga techniques, positions, Kama Sutra, or a general hide and seek pattern. The majority of Kama Sutra is slow to seduce and enchant. Tantra and sexual yoga are more commonly used in healing, recovery, disciplines, institutional, rehab, sex therapy, and neurolinguistic programming when using yoga positions. Dummy trailing is a difficult task that should only be undertaken by professionals. Make sure you understand the terms and agree not to lead to sexual abuse or assault if you're using it in an institution. Piercing is extreme for social deviant groups like BDSM, body modification, and so on. In erotic hypnosis, piercing is used to transfer deep erotic pleasure to the skin, similar to how acupuncture and dummy needles are used. Seduction can be enhanced by using erotic needles, pins, or other tools. Apply oil to the skin and apply touches to the sensitive area when you're ready to pierce. You can also pierce with your fingernails, which will help you radiate heat in sensitive areas. Massage is another erotic hypnosis body technique. A pat from a friend, lover, or boss can indicate hypnosis. Warm wax or candle wax on your skin can also evoke the erotic sensation of a massage. However, be wary of misinterpretation of intent as sexual harassment. It is for this reason that emotional intelligence is required. Massage can help with stress relief, anxiety relief, tension relief, relaxation, and reward. As a result, massage is extremely important. This is implied in erotic hypnosis and seduction, regardless of the massage technique used. Mental, storytelling, narration, psyching, visualization, and imagination fall into the second category. Reiki is another mental technique that I've used multiple times and experienced a variety of mental and physical reactions, resulting in a sync between the mind and the body. Psyche-somatic. Reiki is similar to telepathy, although it operates at a greater distance. These energies can aid in the healing of stress, anxiety, and sadness, among other ailments. I've utilized Tantra and Reiki to convey sexual energies throughout my body and mind. Auditory, words, sound, or accent, phonetics and intonation, speech, linguistic style, talking, and listening are all used in auditory hypnosis to generate sound and imagination for visualization, as well as an ambient environment of influence and perception for realism. The surroundings, music, sensual groaning, breath, quiet, and auditory schizophrenic enchantment all play a role in this. As you utilize the word to modify perception, auditory works well with mental representation. Your hypnotizing perceived representation generates an image in the receiver's mind. In my approach, intonation, vocal pitch, and tone are in a range of crossfading, traveling on a wavelength between normal, slow, sensuous, and moaning or heartbeat and inner voice for sexual hypnosis and hypnotizing. As in the case of hypnotic schizophrenia, emotive empathy. I've also used breath, quiet breath, silence, and loud breath and rhythmic wavelengths to aid relaxation, climax, enjoyment, sexuality, and hypnotics of hysteria. In auditory hypnosis, music is also crucial. Sound effects and environmental effects, such as wind, rainfall, and so on, are also useful. Why not attempt a few of these after considering my methods? Remember to utilize your imagination and have a safe word limit, as they can become addictive and dangerous. Happiness and wellness. Chapter 5. Body language is an art. What is the definition of communication? It's worth debating what communication is all about. There are numerous definitions of this word, but according to the Royal Spanish Academy, communication refers to the transmission of messages through a shared code to the sender and recipient. That is, two or more people come to understand each other in general terms. It's straightforward, and we're discussing the components that play a role in any communication process: sender, message, channel, receiver, and code. The word, or language, appears to be the most prevalent code, which allows the sender to spread a message and the receiver to interpret it. But it is not always the safest. Once it has been established that verbal communication is not the only means of communication, it is necessary to clarify, on the one hand, the interdependence that exists between the verbal and non-verbal channels, since they are not independent of one another, but rather complement one another, and, on the other hand, the contradictory nature of this relationship, since words can say something while gestures deny it. Communication that isn't spoken. We refer to all of the communications we deliver without speaking when we talk about nonverbal communication. We're talking about gestures, expressions, bodily movements, eye contact, and a whole slew of other signals that are crucial in human relationships. As a result, understanding nonverbal communication entails learning how to analyze anything that isn't said in words. If there are 3 things to remember about nonverbal communication, it is that it is a form of communication that we cannot control. Second, within the same context, each gesture has meaning. As a result, separate gestures should not be examined. Rather, the whole should be examined. Finally, human communication is really difficult. It should be noted that nonverbal communication research is still in its infancy, despite the fact that Darwin had already mentioned some components of this study. There was little interest in facial expression transmission until the early 20th century. Furthermore, it was not until the 1950s that several authors decided to address the problem. Words are lovely, fascinating, and vital, Flora Davis says, but we have exaggerated them enormously, because the message's merit is not entirely dependent on the words. Nonetheless, there are a number of other factors in play. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian dissected the influence of a communication into percentages, placing body language first and foremost with 55%. Voice second with 38%, and words last with only 7%. These figures, known as the 7% minus 38% minus 55% rule, do not apply to every communicative scenario. They change depending on the circumstances, and the author has denied their universality on several occasions. The following is taken from their website. Total score: 7 verbal, 38% vocal, and 55% facial. Please keep in mind that this equation, as well as others relating to the relative relevance of verbal and nonverbal messages, were generated from studies on the communication of emotions and attitudes, i.e., like-dislike. These equations aren't applicable unless a communicator is expressing their sentiments or attitudes. After you've identified nonverbal communication, you'll need to know how to differentiate between the 3 types: kinesic, proxemic, and paralinguistic. The set of nonverbal aspects of the voice is known as paralanguage. To better comprehend one another, we use terms like intensity or volume, speed, rhythm, intonation, laughter, and sobbing. A deep voice, for example, commands more respect and authority than a voice with less dominance. The use of space by 2 or more people in the communication process is referred to as proxemics. The distance between the emitter and the receiver is defined as this. Edward T. Hall was a pioneer in the field of space research. They discuss many sorts of distance. A public vantage point, more than 360 centimeters. In order to speak in a group, you must be at a certain distance. A social barrier between 120 and 360 centimeters. Parties and social events. A personal separation between 46 and 120 centimeters. It is the distance between us and strangers that separates us. A short distance between 15 and 45 centimeters. It is the most crucial and serves as a person's personal space. Only those having a highly effective relationship are permitted to participate. Finally, kinesic or kinesis researches the significance of bodily movements and gestures in a communicative context. It's important to note that the body motions made may or may not be intentional, and that kinesic includes eye movement as well. We'll try to clarify this sort of nonverbal communication in more detail because it's the one that's shown in the short film. Types of kinesis. People's attitude toward their environment is expressed by their posture. The distinction is established between an open stance, in which a person opens up to conversation without erecting physical barriers such as crossing arms or legs, and a closed posture, in which we cross arms and legs to isolate ourselves from our interlocutor. Gestures are movements of any part of the body that can convey a wide range of feelings and emotions. Showing a fist with the thumb lifted, for example, will indicate okay. Face expressions. The face allows us to portray a wide range of emotions, with up to 1,000 potential expressions. Paul Ekman demonstrates how facial gestures mirror our emotions in his book Emotion in Human Faces. He identified 7 facial expressions on the human face after years of research: happiness, sadness, rage, disgust, surprise, fear, and contempt. The gaze. Eye contact is very important because it regulates communication. It is an indicator of the turn to speak or act. It is a source of information. A sustained gaze is not the same threatening as an effective look. It expresses emotions, and it communicates the nature of the interpersonal relationship and the communicative act. The smile is a facial expression that conveys joy, sympathy, or satisfaction. Ekman has identified 18 different varieties of smiles based on varied combinations of the 15 facial muscles involved. Writes Daniel Goleman in his book Social Intelligence. The fake smile that appears attached to an unhappy face and transmits an attitude of the type smile and cheer, which appears to be the very reflection of resignation. The cruel smile displayed by the wicked person who enjoys hurting others, and the distant smile characteristic of Charles Chaplin, which mobilizes a muscle that most people cannot voluntarily move and appears. Laugh out loud. Touch and smell. Humans communicate by touch and smell as well. Both the skin and the nose are message receptors. Seduction. Throughout this time, cinema, television, literature, and theater have been in charge of reminding us of great seducers who have shaped history. They include Cleopatra, Casanova, and Kennedy, to name a few. Now consider the following definitions provided by the Royal Spanish Academy for the term seduction. Use art and skill to deceive. Gently persuade someone to do something evil. Seizing or captivating the mood by physically appealing someone in order to obtain sexual intercourse from them. It should be noted that, while we commonly use this term to refer to sensual connections, this is not always the case, as we might be seduced by goods such as clothes or shoes, by a politician's speech, and so on. It's crucial to understand the differences between emotive, social, and professional seduction, among other things. As a result, seduction is defined as appealing or charming someone with their physical appearance or an opinion. It's about presenting something pleasing to our interlocutor's eye. We adore that they attract us since they are primarily bringing us pleasure, says psychologist Vallejo Najera. According to the psychologist, seduction is linked to romantic success, but it's more than that. Every time we talk, we charm the individual in front of us and make them feel attracted to us. Because more people are extroverts, who have it easier, while others have it harder, there is a genetic load. However, it has an impact on how we formed our first interactions with our parents, friends, and teachers. As a result, seduction exists not only outside of the love field, but we have been seducing since we were children. Vallejo Najera proposes a role-based taxonomy of existing seductive prototypes in psychology of seduction. He believes that the first step is to figure out which typology best fits our personality. Aphrodite exudes sensuality, which attracts men who are serious and protective. You want to feel safe and nurtured. His emotions swing back and forth between laughing and crying. The seductress believes his image as a sexually powerful guy has been enhanced. You must provide her devotion, security, and optimism in order to captivate her. The lowlife. He is looking for adventure and has an abundance of desire for women who are insecure and maternal. He enthralls them as a result of this. He is narcissistic, but he suffers from low self-esteem. Therefore, he requires adulation. You must admire him and assist him in channeling his feelings in order to win him over. The rescuer. This is the angel who solves all difficulties and is always willing to help. They're looking for folks that are chaotic, clueless, and have low self-esteem. He is motivated by a sense of invulnerability. To entice them, you must admire their assistance and assist them in spending time with themselves. The artist. He seeks out people who are sensitive to beauty and who are awestruck by his brilliance. They want to feel special, thus their idealism must be recognized, and their genuineness must be valued. The captivator. A happy and agile verb. He is the king of empathy, on the lookout for strict and self-demanding people in need of positivity. Enjoy life. And in order to beat him, you must avoid being dissatisfied and refrain from criticizing others. The intelligent. Those seeking intellectual stimulation will find insight here. They are incredibly choosy, as if they don't require the other. To defeat them, you must respect their privacy and not overburden them with emotional demands. The charming. A haven of peace and kindness, support, and a lack of pretension, especially for those suffering from stress. The charmer avoids arguing and instead boosts the opponent's self-esteem. It encourages you to be at ease. The divo. Short for divo is a term used to describe his style, the effortless glamour with which he captures people who are burdened by routine. The divo wants perfection and is airy, insinuating, and distant. To entice him, you must encourage him to be gentler with himself, to allow him to appreciate the modest pleasures of an imperfect life. The seduction language. To entice someone, we all subconsciously wish for it, and we all protect ourselves well against its onslaught. It is seduction's nature. Everyone wants to be seduced, and seduction is at the heart of every human relationship. The Language of Seduction by Philippe Turchet. We'll start with a premise. Persons who know how to communicate are the most seductive. regardless of their physical appearance. There are gorgeous persons who lack seduction's art, who lack the charisma that captivates their interlocutors. As a result, communication and seduction are two processes that are intertwined. We are captivated, not by the message communicated, but by the manner in which it is delivered. When we are in the presence of a good communicator, to pique our listeners' interest, the seductive art relies on transmitting undetectable messages. Some messages last only a few hundred milliseconds. However, the brain, which is in charge of digesting and adjusting to these impulses, cannot tell them apart. As a result, gestures might be thought of as subliminal communications. The father of sinology is Philippe Turchet, who cautions against using words to persuade in his book The Language of Seduction. After numerous years of research, this science was born in the 1980s. This field aims to decode the significance of minor gestural nuances, face microexpressions, gestures, and bodily emotions that we do unconsciously. For example, why we rest our head on one hand or cross our knees. We have already stated that words should not be as significant as gestures in the communication process. Therefore, in the event of a dispute between gestures and words, we must give gestures a vote of confidence. Words, according to numerous research, are incapable of conveying feelings. Childhood is a crucial era in seduction. Although it may not appear so, this process does not develop until we reach a specific age. Rather, we learn to use it from the time we are tiny and come into contact with social ties. We've always noticed that certain students are more charismatic than others at school. Face and head. When it comes to expressing emotions on the face, the mouth, the brows, the eyes, and the gaze all play a role. It's worth noting that the left side of the face represents the emotional side of the brain, which is controlled by the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere directs the right hemisphere, which is the control half. Our faces are not symmetrical. Contrary to popular belief, the look in the eyes, we can answer some questions by observing our interlocutor's gaze, such as if they are paying attention to us or if we are attracting them. The eyelids play a crucial function in this regard, because when we listen, we web blink to accept the information that comes from outside. A person who does not blink is not paying attention. When we say someone is in babia, we're referring to someone who is dumb. You're more engrossed in the talk the more I blink. The brightness of the eyes or the size of the pupils are two further details to pay attention to. When we are in the presence of someone we care about, our eyes grow wet and our pupils expand. At the same time, if our interlocutor looks at us and the attraction is mutual, his pupils will enlarge as well. The brows are raised. When we are concerned that our interlocutor will not open up to dialogue, our brows form a V shape. Despite numerous words to the contrary, this gesture will show on your face that something is wrong. The snout. This portion of the face is seen to be particularly attractive. The acts we can perform with our mouths are logically distinct from those we can accomplish with our eyes. If we pay attention, we will see that when we are interested in someone, our sight is drawn to his mouth. It's a method of approximate calculation. In addition, we use our mouth to moisten our lower lip and therefore communicate our desire. The desire is sexual if the movement is conducted from left to right. The grin. If the brows have fallen, wrinkles on the crow's feet have formed, and the teeth are visible, you can tell if the grin is genuine. The smile is false if this does not happen. Face-to-face contact. When our hands move to our faces, it's not by accident, they're also sending messages. A common gesture is to cover your mouth with your hands, which is nothing more than a shameful expression developed from infancy when we would conceal our faces behind our palms. Stroking your hair with your hands is another well-known indicator that has sparked a lot of debate. This act is supposed to be a sign of seduction. Although this is not the case, not all hand gestures with hair are intended to be seductive. Some are merely interested in making contact with themselves, while others are looking for a close match. To tell the difference, look at how high the hand is, if it is close to the listener or, on the other hand, if it is as far away as possible. Furthermore, the state of the palm is important. If it is exposed, it represents opening, whereas if the person making the gesture is hidden, it expresses closing. Another common action is to support the head on the one hand. This gesture is just a wish to draw attention to ourselves by requesting that our interlocutor look at us. Micro itches. It's important to distinguish